And this ought to be the greatest motivation for Christian living. Looking to the prophetic, wonderful Christ who was crucified on the cross for our sin. And that's why Paul said to the Corinthians, "For the love of Christ constrains us." You know why people don't live for Christ? They're not constrained by the love of Christ. You know what they're constrained by? The love of this world. The pleasure of this world. This is what we see in our culture today, even in Christendom. Please understand this. People be lovers of pleasure more than lovers of God. That's why you don't see people living for Christ, because they're living for self. That's the only option on the shelf. True? It's amazing how people can get excited about everything else but the Lord. It ought not to be so. It ought not to be so. I mean, you think about what excites a person, what they jump up and down and get happy about, and just their heart is dancing, and it's short-lived, but you see it today. When it comes to the Word of God, you try to get people to come and hear the Word of God and seek after the Lord, know His will, knowing, yes, it's not going to be smooth sailing, it's not going to be a bed of roses. We know that there's storms and there's thorns. And you get people to wake up and they just don't. Why? Because, listen, they don't understand the love of Christ. They don't see prophetically what God has done for us and what's coming and what He'll continue to do. They're earthbound. That's why they don't get persecuted. I said it to the men on Friday. The reason why your average Christian doesn't get persecuted, and sometimes they're the persecutors, is because they're not living for Christ. They're not. They're not serious and sober. If you were serious and sober, people will be against you. Satan will have a target on you. That's why he says, be sober, be vigilant. Cast all your cares upon Him, for He cares for you. Be sober, be vigilant, because your adversary, the devil, is like a roaring lion seeking whom he may devour. You know why he's trying to devour Christians that are casting their cares like David on the Lord? Because they're seeking the Lord. They have a heart after God. But those that don't, He leaves them alone. As a matter of fact, one day there'll be tools in the hand of the enemy to overthrow the work of God, which, by the way, the work of God can never be overthrown. Christians can, and they can be put on the shelf, but the work of God will always continue. The Apostle Paul says that he was bound in prison. Listen, but the word of God is not bound. The gates of hell shall not prevail against God's church. It will continue no matter what we do, whether you're faithful or not, whether you're persecuted or not. The work of God will go on. It always has been, and it always will be. Question is, do you want to be a part of it?